ya user. Yeah, you are getting an error. Haiko ina respond.
Let me have a look as I share my screen. Hi Evans, hi Fatma, hi Alan.
Hi Ian.
Hi. How are you guys doing? Is my screen visible? Hopefully it is. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
visible.
Okay. What is wrong with edge context? They're not using. No, it's ESLint. Okay, let me start the app. Okay, so when we left off, I think we could calculate age. Let's do a recap and see tulikuwa tumefika wapi. Calculated days, set calculated days. Let's just see if we can actually calculate age. It's my 2022. Okay, so it looks like we had implemented calculating the age after submitting the form. That's the last thing we did. Then we were setting errors. Set is error is set to true if days is greater than 31 or days is less than or equal to 0. But let's see, from the image, from the design, this is what we need to have when the user gives the wrong input. We need to first of all make the border red as well as the label. So the labels need to be red, and we need to have the error messages basically down here. Must be a valid month, must be in the past. Okay, so it has to be in the past. So it can't be in like too far. It can't be in the future. You can't have been born in the future. So we need to handle this. First of all, have these error validations. I think that's what we were trying to do. I think that's the last thing we were attempting to do. Okay, so let's start. All right, so let's go back to our, I think I'll remove this and have it side by side with our card header. Let me close some of these things because now I'm getting confused. Card header, birth date, age. Okay, so now maybe you can just start with one of them, like one of the inputs. So from the design, when the user gives us the wrong date value, we need to, first of all, turn the label to red and have this message down here. The way we've set up our application, these inputs, I think they are components. They are individual components. I believe that's what we did. I believe it's in birth date. Yep, it's in birth date. So what we need to do when the user gives us some invalid information is we need to turn the input. So the border of the input needs to turn red. Then we need to add like a small message below the input. So from this, that should be somewhere down here, right here. So we need to have, just to hard code it, must be valid day, and this needs to be red. So text dash red dash 500. Okay, so let's look at what we have right now. So this is basically what we have down here. Must be a valid day, but we don't want it to look like this first of all. Then I think it's also too big. It needs to span all the way to the end. So right now it's already, they're too small. That's why it's bleeding into the next line. But before we even get to the styling, we need to render these error messages conditionally. First of all, they only need to show up when the input is invalid. Number two, the error message is different for each input. Okay, so for the first input, it must be a valid day. For the second one, must be a valid month. For the year input, must be in the past. So right now, the way we've done it, they're all the same because we've hard coded that information here within the input. So what is one approach we can use to, first of all, make this field, this paragraph, render conditionally first, so it should not always be there. Number two, how do we make the message dynamic? How do we make this message dynamic? So we can still retain the text dash red dash 500, but how do we maintain, how do we make it dynamic so that this text is different depending on the invalid input? Let's go back to our age.jsx. Let's look at how we are passing down this stuff. So this is our age, so it's not here. Let's go back to our card header. So here it is. This is how we are passing information down. So we need to do something. How do we pass down this value, the error value, basically this text down to each individual input and make it dynamic depending on the input. Anyone with an idea how we can start? What's an idea of how we can implement that?
Hey Ian, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I have a small idea of maybe the start of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can have like a state for tracking the errors inside the context.
I think we already did that, I believe. We have the error it is.
So instead of a boolean, it can be like a string, whatever you want to display on that field. Yeah.
So we change this to a string.
Yeah, it can be a string. Like the errors are strings already. But we have 3 different errors, right?
Yes, we have 3 different errors.
Maybe an object which with each of the errors can work. But we can just try first with a string and then we can then refactor after that. So maybe just put a default error just to test.
Must be a valid input.
Are you passing them the error into the context?
Yes, we are passing the error down. It is.
So let's go to the birth date. We just go and try it out.
But you see here, okay, let's just try it out. But you can see here we put the set is error to true and days is
just comment it out. Like you just want to see it whether it will work or not.
Okay.
That's the first step, whether it displays there.
Okay. So birth date.
So maybe you can also pass in an error just to make it dynamic. As a prop. Or maybe we can just let's just use the context.
Yeah.
But it will display across all 3, so that's why we might need to use props. But just do it so that we see whether it will display.
Context. And we can start using it here. Const equal to use context, start to edge context. Then we need the error.
You just try to render it on that paragraph as error. Inside them must be a valid day. Just change that to
Yeah.
Yes. So it's a string, just put it there. Let's see. Let's go and see whether I have like errors or something. Whether it has worked, like display.
Yep.
Yeah, so this was the issue I was telling you. It will display across all 3 unless you make it a prop.
Yep.
But now if we make it a prop, or if we make it an object, then you check before accessing. For example, can you create 3 of the P's? Let's just try it out. Create 3 P's. So let's go to our errors. Maybe just change them to error dot first, second, and third. Just here, right here, error dot. We're going to make it an object just to see whether it's feasible. Just give them random names for start. Like you have to start somewhere and then maybe work backwards and improve slowly. You can't think of the biggest picture at the same time.
Yep.
So let's go to the context. You make instead of a string now, it should be the object with that shape that you've just defined.
Being valid day. You can just take it a couple of times. We can have second, third must be a valid one, must be in the past.
Okay, so can you even go to? Did you put different error messages?
Yep.
Okay, let's go back to where you're using it. And just comment out. Let's remain with the just one.
So we console log it, we see.
Let's also log it. It will be easy.
Let's console log it up at June. What it's giving us back. Yep, we have the, let's try error dot first. Yeah, it looks like it is working. Second is undefined.
Wait a second. I guess it should be an object, maybe. Like, can you console log the error itself? Let's see the error. It only has first in it.
They're all error dot first. How come?
Like the second and third should be keys within the first. You've created 3 different objects. It should be one object with 3 keys.
Okay. So we are now getting 3 of them, 3 different.
There you go. Can you move on the console? Oh, I know.
Isn't that what we want? It's the desired behavior.
like, can you just have one? But now they should be now rendered conditionally now, depending on whether it's available or not. But why do we have like double on one, like 2 on 1? Just have one. We see how it renders. We'll go back. Maybe make it now second, like the second string.
Okay, so they're doing that because we are within the birthday.
Just make it seconds. I see whether it will change to the month now.
It will change.
Yeah.
It will change.
Yeah, so you need to short circuit according to whether they've been set or not. Maybe you can say error dot. How can you short circuit it now?
Okay, so what if we use the parent? What if we pass the error? Because the edge context, this is where we are passing. Is it here? No. Where are we doing the looping? Wherever we are passing 3 of them, I think is where we need to pass them down. Upper. See, upper is where we
now.
No, upper.
You can pass them as props.
Yes,
but props. Yeah, there's definitely another approach to it. Like you can also just short circuit, but passing them as props can also work.
But how would the short circuiting way work? I'm trying to see how would you
you check whether the object contains, whether it's an empty string. If it's an empty string, you render nothing. If it's not an empty string, you render what is in the. Let's just go back there and we just try it as a 101 condition. Maybe error dot first is equals to empty string.
Where do we do it in the birth date? So here.
Just the 3 piece here. But we need one p. We need one, right? Yeah, just put one, maybe one div. You can start even with a div or a p. And then inside, just open the, and then error dot first. You check whether like it's not. In this case, let's check whether it's a string, just for to test. It's an empty string. If it's an empty string, so it means it's not there. So like the opposite of this, put the opposite thing on the beginning of error dot first, that exclamation. And then now you put the and.
We put the and here.
Yeah, like let's just use the and instead of the ternary.
Okay.
Then now you display error dot first. Like I was thinking something like that. Do the same for the others, just within the P.
Or just up and down.
Can maybe break it into multiple lines and copy it twice.
But this whole object, this whole expression up and down is what we need to copy 3 times.
Yeah, and then we change to second and third now. But will that work? I guess props will be the easiest.
Because
for this, if two evaluate to true, they both appear on the same on one.
Yeah.
So it's still an issue. Yeah, it's still an issue.
Yeah. The issue is the way we are passing down because it needs to tell like where what error should it display depending on the input. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, the issue if the errors are being displayed one at a time, it will work. But in this case, you can have 2 errors on 2 fields.
Yeah.
So 2 of them will match, and then you'll have 2 on 1.
Yeah.
So the best will be just props. Just change it to props. Send it to props. You can make the P an error.
So
Just
this
remove
P.
what is in there. Just a second, so it's calling.
Okay. Because my thinking was the same way we are passing down the individual day, month, and year, we also need to pass down the error messages. Because my thinking is, for example, let's assume we are passing down within the birth date, we are passing down like error message, and then error message is equal to whatever comes up down from. So if you go to this, go to edge context or card header. Now, if I pass down error message, this should be equal to must be a valid day. Must be a valid, this is month. Then this one can be must be and go to the birth date. Then you can turn this into name text dash 300. That will show us 3 different error messages. Yep. And then now find a way to render it conditionally based off of if this value is it's a wrong value.
Okay.
One.
Yeah. Bulb girl. So
Joseph, that was my thinking. How do we? Because
now you can. That's what I was also thinking. So you can just consume the context from the birth date, and then pass down the objects as instead of the strings. Now let's go to the where you were before, where you're using the props.
I think it's,
so here. Yes, so instead of now strings, pass the error dot in each of them, like whichever it applies to it, whatever applies to it.
So error dot first. We need to first of all consume it from the context.
Yes.
And then error dot second.
Yes, and then the dot third.
Yep, still the same thing. Okay, we now need to render it conditionally. Sindio? We need to check for the existence of an error.
Let's try passing it down conditionally, the way we were trying to do previously.
So here,
like where it's a prop there. You can say error dot first is equals to an empty string. The same thing that you are doing now, but now we use a ternary. You can definitely make it its own variable for it to be more readable later on. If it's an empty string, we pass null, don't pass anything. And then otherwise, you pass error.first. And so either that will work. If we go and make it try to be an empty string, see what happens.
Yep. It's appeared. It's working. We just duplicate that same logic for the other.
Yeah, just duplicate it.
Okay. So we know we can now render it conditionally because this one is not showing up. So we are getting somewhere. So now how do we set it to that value in our context?
You have to work out the conditionals.
Sorry?
You have to work out the conditionals and set the error depending on the one that will be valid now, depending on your, for example, in that if statement that you had written. Now maybe you can set there, and then you check for the conditions for the next field. Then you set like that until all the conditions have been met.
So we start with an empty one.
For example, let's just start with an empty one for all of them.
Yep.
Let's just go to the if that you had already written. Maybe.
This one here, Papa.
So just maybe you can just write. This is it's checking for whether it's between
the days. This is checking for the correct days.
So we want to set error if this don't match, right?
Yes, we want to set
so
error.
Should it be the opposite of this? No, like it's correct. Now just set error here to whatever the error for the day would have been, like as a string. But you'll need to also take the previous of the function now because it's an object.
Then we need to return. We need to
use spread in previous. Like the way you're done, the way you're already done first. Then comma. Then now we change the one that has changed.
Which is
that will be
an object.
Now the string will it be what is the key?
The key is we set it to fast.
Yeah, no, that fast now. If it will work, I'm not sure even. Just press there right there.
Will it work really? Because
let's put the error first. Then you see.
Let's do what?
Just put the string error there. What you want for the first? What was it? Invalid day or?
No. Valid day. They must be valid.
I see the issue. The issue is
you
have to do an implicit return, like nest the curly brackets into parentheses. That might be it, maybe. Yeah, can also do that, but or you can do the implicit one.
But this is a bit easier to read.
Yeah, so let's and see what's happening.
So let's try. Okay.
Okay, so maybe console log, just console log the error object. You might be doing it wrong here.
Where do we console log it from birth date or from here? It's already being console logged. Do we have?
But let's see whether it's Nini. And the first was set to correctly.
Nope. Doesn't look like it's changing.
Not changing.
Let's try again.
It's saying that it ran 36 times, yet it's just showing a couple. Yeah, let's say from here. First open the object before you change to see how it's looking. Okay, now just make it there's an error. Let's go back to the, in case there's an error in the area setting state. Let's go there. Yeah, is I supposed to call previous dot first or
no? Because I'm thinking, because if you're trying to change a property on an object, this previous it include even first. It will also include like basically we ask.
Can you?
Don't we need to change the first property only?
Make it private at first, you see.
Yeah, let's do this. Console log. Can I do this really? No, I can't press predict that way.
The copying is actually working, but can you maybe do prev.first instead of first? But what will prev contain? Or console log prev just inside there, just before the return. Like inside the setter.
Set error, yeah.
Just a second, I'm coming back.
Prev, it's returning the object. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to change. We are trying to change the first property. Only this, and then the rest should remain the same. So what you're trying to do is, if you were to do it manually, we are trying to set prev dot first to be equal to must be a valid day. This is what you're trying to do. And then what do you want to return after that? We want to, at this point, if I do a console log of prev, and I set the error, I give it 40, where is the error coming from? The children attribute of this expected cast value to a string at span. The issue is the way we are passing down the response of the calculation. We need to not calculate if we have an error or if we don't have valid strings, which is what we're trying to do. So this is not running. It's not getting to this point. That's why we're not even changing the values themselves. Let's see. Which context? We need to not set these values. Duplicate set is error. She's coming from here. Still trying to calculate the month, year, and the days, months, and years, like the age, and we give it the wrong values. Where is the calculating happening? It's happening here. Calculate age, date. So I believe this check should be happening before calculate. Because at this point, it's already done the calculating, even if you give it the wrong value. So let's try to do that. Take this if these. Cut it. Let's only start doing the calculations. But we still need these values. Okay. This needs to be something. We're doing it in the wrong place. We need to be checking these days from the input. Can you guys see what the issue is? The issue is the time it gets to, if days is greater than 31, who has seen the issues? Or maybe we brainstorm, we see where the problem is coming from. Because right now it's not giving us, it's not even running the last chunk. It's not checking the if. I give it 34, this is obviously invalid. But the reason we are seeing none is because it's still trying to calculate. It is still trying to calculate. Go to up to JSX. Maybe we need to do it here. Before we calculate, we need to check whether days is valid. Whatever value is coming from our days. I believe we have days. What did we call it in the context? Day, call it day. Day. And then before we do the calculating, console log day. Let's see what that does for us. Is it days or days? It's supposed to be day. So if you do that, let's see whether that works. If This doesn't work. Do you guys see the same thing I'm trying to do? I'm trying to figure out. It's calculating even when we have an invalid day. Ruben, anyone, do you see? What do you think we should do? My thinking process is we check if day is a valid value before we calculate. Baba. Or anyone?
Hey, I'm back now. Have you found the error?
Yeah, so I'm thinking, so what's going on is it's still calculating. The reason we are not seeing,
It's not executing that block.
It's not executing that block. It's still trying to calculate the age even when you give it an invalid.
Can you go to the birth date? Okay, let's go back to the birth date. Like where is it birth date?
It's in the context. If you're trying to
where these things the nuns are being displayed there.
The nuns are being displayed in age.
So calculate years, calculate months. You can do like let's try with the first one. What are you supposed to display if it's not valid? Dashes, right?
Dashes.
So let's calculate. There's a isNone, I guess. There's a method called isNone to check whether it's a number. Can you use that to? isNone, is it a method or no?
isNone comes with, is that a React thing, Amania? You mean?
It's a just thing. Just write isNone on line 5. Line 5. Let the IDE assist us. So yeah, it takes the number. So you can say const is a number. Const is number. Just do it as an arrow function is equals to returns isNone. You can just do the implicit return on one line to make it like a short function. isNone, then you pass it. It can take a number, then you pass it the number. Like just write number. You want to just create a generic function.
You just pass it number there with a capital N.
Like it takes an argument number and you pass it into the isNone.
Oh, here.
Num, yeah. There.
And I pass it down here.
Pass it down. So it will return a boolean. Let's use it with our calculated years. Just drop calculated years in isNumber. Then we do a ternary now. If it's a number, if it's true, you calculated these. Otherwise, those dashes. Calculated years, I mean. I think it's 2 dashes.
Dashes, yeah.
Let's try that.
For months calculated. Calculated days. Number calculated days. Calculated days.
Okay, I have a suggestion, but it might be a bit. It might be a bit long.
But wait. Let's first of all, before you give us your suggestion, I'm gonna go ahead. Just give us a suggestion. Let's try to see what's going on. Go ahead, Ruben.
Okay, since we know the number of days that the user should input, they are between 1 and 31. We can hard code the day input not to accept any number that is not between 1 and 31. Instead of calculating if that day is between 1 and 31, we can just hard code it.
Where do you want us to hard code it?
Kwa hiyo kama sasa ni day on that input field, so that when a user is keying in the number, we check if that number is 1 or 30, or is between 1 and 31. If not, it will display the error immediately.
Well, that might also work.
Yes.
Go ahead, Joseph.
Let's go and test is none. Like I guess you have like a bug here. Let's go like with the console log. Go back to the like was it here? Just test it up there with one of the fields, like with the console log. See what it returns. Maybe our condition is wrong.
By default, it returns.
By default, it's a string, huh? What is the data type?
Number.
It's not a string, it's a number. What? Can you do the typo on it? Typo?
On the edge.
Oh, this one is checking is not a number. It's checking is not a number. Yeah, the checking is not a number. So we should return the opposite. Just is none, put like an exclamation on the start. Is none checks whether it is not a number. Yeah.
Okay. So this is working now. Do you have error checking for this? Or this title covers that? Still none. Okay. So that seems to be working up to that point. It's not calculating, so that is working. But the the error messages now. Wait, what were we trying to do initially? I'm even confused now. Let me remove this. We're trying to use the age, the context to see like returning different error messages. Hapa ndo tulikuwa tumekwama sasa. I don't think it's still running this thing, because we are not getting anything in the console if we give it an invalid day. The days is coming from here. The days need to be greater than 31. No, if the days is greater than 31 or the days are less than or equal to 0, we need to set the error. Let's see.
Is this condition accurate? If the days are greater than 31, it's an error.
Yes.
That should be the success state or error state. Or
yes,
if it's like it's a month. A month like has 31 days in this case.
Yes, this is days. This is like between days. A day cannot be 0. So we are checking.
Or maybe it's the or. Maybe it's the or.
But Ian.
Because if you put 91, the second condition will be beef.
So let's
go ahead, John.
Go ahead, John.
Oh, I have a question. These days, are we checking the days from the input, or are you checking the days from the calculation? You see, from the input we have day. But line 38, you are checking days after calculation.
Yeah.
So which one
that's
are we
true.
supposed to check?
Yeah, that's why I was saying nilikuwa nasema we might be doing it in the wrong way kwa sababu when we go to app.jsx, I believe hapa, I think we need to check do the checking here, because we want to check whatever is being passed by the user as an input, right? So now when we come to birth date is changing what is it changing? The day. Like every time we change something, we are changing either day, month, or year. I think what we need to do is hapa. We need to check if those values from the user. So if day, after the user has changed that value of day, month, or year, if they are valid, then do the calculating of the age.
Exactly, yeah. Validation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're supposed to do.
We've been using the wrong variable. So John has a point there. We should be checking for day, not days. Not the calculated one, the input one. That's a major bug there already. Like the way John has pointed out.
Yep. We are checking days. We're checking days.
And it's behaving really differently.
Yeah. Yep. So it means, so there's those two ways of doing it, Basi. So we can either have the error checking within calculate age. So before we do the const new date and that logic, upper juu, and do the if day, not days, if day. Sindio? And then if they are valid, then now do the calculating. If not, then do something else. Right? Okay. So let's cut this. Let's put it a juu, and let's switch this out to day. We do have a day, we believe. Day and day. Maybe this should work now. Again. These are now giving us an error ni kwa sababu ziko huku ndani.
I guess we don't need the dashes now. Maybe we can just replace them with this. Like replace 54 to 56. See how that behaves now.
Let's go through the logic again. If day is greater than 31, or day is less than or equal to 0, then we need to set an error. And then return this must be a valid day. Okay, and then in app.jsx, what are we doing? Let me remove this.
I guess you should also return from that function. Yep. So that it doesn't continue downwards. Like within this block outside the center. Just do an empty return so that it exits, like it doesn't continue downwards. Evaluating like downwards.
Yep. We need to have a return here.
And you can close that if, and then the other code should now be outside the if.
Yep.
Validation is hard.
Like
validation is hard if you're not using a library, if you're doing it yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so this should not calculate if day is invalid. It should not even do the calculating. That's essentially what we are trying to do. So, however, this should now, we should see this value if we give it the wrong day value, basically. Give it 45, and we try to calculate. Yep. There you go.
Yeah, now we can implement for the month and yeah.
Yep. So this was working, iko hapa chini. So let's remove this. It look like it was working. Let's try again. Confirm it's working. 45. Yep.
I guess you do need the is none though, because that the dashes are not coming in. What is happening on that side?
Oh, here. Because it's not
zeros.
It's not
it's not getting the not a number. You don't even need that function now.
Yeah.
So you can check for 0 and then render the dashes depending on whether there's a 0 or not.
Where? In the athlete.
Tulifanya is a number.
The birth date. Age, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't need this one because you're not doing the calculation. We have invalid numbers. We don't need the function at line 5. So our conditions should change, or maybe we can change even the function to check for 0, because we've already written the code down there instead of rewriting everything.
We check for 0 where
line 5 we change where is 0.
Line 5.
Like instead of his number, we check for 0. Then if number is equal to 0. Yeah, the way you've done it, like now you make it 0. Yeah. So I guess I just check whether it's equal to 0.
Number is equal to 0. So we don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't say there is none.
So we just check num.
is equal 0. Now you need to change the logic now, because if that is true, you need to display the dashes. So you need to interchange.
Okay, you can just negate it on the function itself.
Oh yeah, line 11 before is 0.
Or the function. Instead of num equal is equal 0, you negate that now. But now you need to be checking whether it's 0 or it's not 0.
Watalam.
If it's false, let's go and just check. My brain is quite tired.
What are we doing? So we are checking if it's 0, if it's not 0, if it's not equal, if it returns false. The condition here is if it's 0, and then you give it a value. If it's false, I'm even confused. What are we checking? What the truthy value here ni gani sasa? What will it will only give us calculated years.
If it is a 0, you put the dashes. If it's not a 0, you put the number.
Okay.
Because definitely it will be the number if it's not 0.
Okay.
Can you put valid ones and you see whether they change to valid two numbers or not? Like ya kwanza ikuwe valid, you see whether it will calculate. Not.
Nope.
Not the bad.
Where is that one coming from now? We don't even know at what point it broke. Let me try. Okay, so now it's not even calculating valid values. What are we doing wrong?
Context. Hebu console log hapa kwa context. Hapa chini, like after the if, is the milliseconds, all those, are they being calculated?
Let's try. Wait, did you remove the prevent default or something? Sababu. Oh, there it is. It is logging it, meaning it's running the block below. Did you remove? Must this?
Can you uncomment this console log on line 53? Is here it has something. It's outside. Because that's what you're trying to display, right?
Let me remove this one.
Maybe the condition maybe our condition is always true, the one that we are returning prematurely on 25. But here it's calculating, calculating.
The issue is in the edge. She's coming from here. Something is wrong with the kitu hapa juu. Something is happening.
Simplify kitu kiasi. Simplify kidogo. Punguza complexity.
Tumeongeza complexity.
ongeza complexity. Ile function hebu tuisare kwanza.
Hii hapa juu.
We just check like if that number is equals to 0 or not.
This one instead of
Sasa, like we don't use the function, we just do it manually.
So we need to remove this, then check if calculated days is equal to 0.
If it's equal to 0, we do the dashes. If it's not, we do the calculated days. Yeah, like that. Okay, that should then.
Hii hapa kwa sasa hata our code is all over.
Ngoja kidogo. I don't know, I can even delete.
And this was calculated once not equal to 0. Then this is calculated is not equal to 0.
Input invalid. Hey. Oh, the dashes zimeenda wapi sasa?
That's a good progress. Then I have to reset. When it's invalid, rudi hapo kwa edge context. There's react for you now. Kwa if after kuset error, copy zile za uko chini, you reset all the that one.
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
set to zeros.
Yeah.
Chin is after this error. Chin.
Before returning up. Yeah.
Yeah, before the return. Check 0. So get to 0. Ama. That's the condition you're checking against.
Progress.
Okay. So now that is working.
Yeah, so
it only took us the whole session.
Now you need
so now we need to check for the other ones.
For the months and for the years.
What is the condition for that one?
So for the months, it should be greater than 0. So if the month is less than or equal to 0, less than equal to 0, or greater than 12. Now you can just copy paste. To change to ile value ya second must be a valid one.
Do we do this again? Set is calculated, set is easy.
Yeah, we need them. Because someone can input a valid day, but still an invalid month. So for the key, it's the second line, that 6. Yeah. Can test that one out, and then you return. You must also return if let's test if we may break anything. It makes sense now. Now for the year, since we are dealing with 1970, the year must is it inafaa ikuwe hivyo? Because si tulisema tunaenda to 1st January 1970, so meaning 1969 iwezi kama. I'm not sure. I'm asking.
Oh, you're asking.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So you can check 0 and 100 maybe.
100.
Like uko chini ya 100, like as most humans currently are.
So
Like it's quite rudimentary. Like any calculating, I guess you can maybe use that condition. Sasa mtoto mwenye ako na 1 day itafanya.
Yeah, those are my edge cases.
And maybe they can try, you see.
Because if someone is
a good
1 day,
edge case to try out.
why are they calculating their age?
Like maybe the parent is calculating for them.
Nazaliwa jana.
less than
It's a nice one to test out. We can see how it breaks.
So what are we checking for?
The year should always be less than 2023 or 2024.
But at this point but it should always be less than 2023. What if someone checks the year next year?
Always check always input your birth date as next year. And
no, you're saying as long as the year is less than 2023.
Yeah.
For the year input.
So if the year is greater than
is greater than 2023.
Yeah.
So okay, so this is now hard. It's greater than hard coding sasa.
So now error lazima ita arise. You can just copy paste and it must be in the past.
So what if someone uses this application next year? Or
okay, so we can tutumie function here.
So tumia new date.
So the current
new
year.
Date. Use new date dot. I think it's get full year, new date dot get full year.
Yeah, get full year.
But we can also say like you should be born like within the last 100 days, maybe 1923. Because if someone puts 0, we need to be valid or 2.
Okay. So there should be or.
Or what are we checking for?
100 years from now, new money. 18 ngapi? No, to mathematic. 100 years. 2023 minus 100. It's 1923. Yeah.
Okay. So it's if it's less than less than 1923.
Yeah.
Today you have butchered JavaScript.
Kwanza the two if statements unaona repetition. If tunaweza chain hizo if statement but sasa hapo kwa condition
hiyo tutafanya afterwards. We will optimize afterwards.
Okay.
Must be date cannot. What was the error? Month?
Yeah.
Must be in the past.
This problem has been the perfect showcase for like how you should use state and context. Like doing it this way has made it pretty obvious, like what to do when you want to have a piece of state or track something.
Yep.
We can test for the year. Input card 2024 you will find that. Put caso.
That will break. The theory is broken, but Nisawa. The year 100 is in the past.
Yeah. I was them a valid year. What's a valid year?
But at least it's working. Most of it, we have been able to get. Let's try to put invalid values for all of them.
Okay.
In before.
It's for the month.
What's going on with the month? In here, tujafanya for the month.
We try it alone. We see how it behaves.
It was working. I believe it was working. Tena. Now.
Hey.
We break aje.
Okay, now the third one. The year is not showing up. Wait, what?
The day is also valid, man. Conditionals must be.
So, Ebu, let's try to test them all with invalid text. So, tujaribu 45. Then we'll watch the console tuone what is changing. 45, 15, and 2025. But tuone nini itakuja hapa chini. Let me clear this one more time. It's only setting the first one.
Because ya kwanza si unajua ita return.
Yes, because of the if blocks.
So ikipata error ya kwanza, yes, it returns.
Unless we chain them all. No, we can't do that.
If else. I guess it's because of the returns. We can do if else's.
Yeah, yep. So if then else if. And need to remove. Do you need to remove the return? Really? Let's see. $5, 16. 20, 20.
I think in a return, ikisha return, since tumeset to 0, it only displays that error ya month peke yake. Si tumeweka kwa if statement starting with the day. If there's any error, we return, so it will not continue calculating.
We need to remove the return.
Nayo tukiremove haita make sense. Hata else if haita make sense, because hizi ni 3 conditions that we are checking at the same time.
Yeah, but we need all of them to run.
At the same time. So see if one doesn't satisfy the same condition ingine tunaweza execute. We need to test all of them at the same time.
Let's try it like that. That makes sense.
Where do we do that?
Like we remove the empty returns so that all of them run. Or John, Sinivama?
Ebu to try now line 30.
Okay, so what I was doing actually, nitoe the return values.
Rudisha usiweke else if.
Hivyo.
Yeah, Tebu.
Five, 15, 20, 25. Something else is broken.
Hey.
So now it is giving us all of them, but the return now is a problem. Sababu.
You can just bring back the is none.
Is none. So in a proceed to calculate.
You can use the is none function. Like you can, maybe you can undo, I guess.
Where was it? Goku. Now you guys have seen like a
Ebu Joseph. Ebu rudi kwa age context kiasi. What if functionality ya ku validate for years, for months and days, to set kwa separate function enye ni boolean, whereby if any of the checks fails, in a return false that function. But hey, shida ni error. Now how are we going to set error?
Okay, so our issue right now, our bug is if you try to do it, it's trying to still calculate age. Sindio, hiyo si ndio shida. It's trying to calculate age with invalid values. That's it's returning none.
Yeah.
I think that's why we should have handled. Most of logic. I think we should have handled it before calling calculate age. Like huku. Shida siko hapa. The problem is it will still run calculate age even if you have invalid values.
Yeah.
Because logic iko ndani ya context.
True.
Easy months and easy vitu zote. But it's inside of calculate age. Hata nimechanganyikiwa sasa. Because my thinking is you could calculate age is we should calculate conditionally only when we have valid values for month, day, and year. Only at that point do the calculating, only calculate age at that point. Not yenye kuku ndani we are struggling because of sasa hapa the return value is the problem.
Yeah.
Then sasa hiyo return, because we don't have return statements, bado ina calculate, it's still jumping to huku chini.
Siweke return hapa chini.
Wapi? Hapa. Wapi exactly?
But sasa it will always return.
It will never jump to huku chini. If you put a return here, iko kwa scope ya
it won't jump.
Block out everything below it.
Yeah.
That's why nilikuwa like unaona this implementation could be somewhere else. Like your reasoning ya nani? John, like if we could only calculate when we have valid day, year, and month. Now see, we are calling the function at this point hapa kwa hii. If you could have the error checking here, then calculate age is only to calculate the age. So it only runs huku chini hapa.
You could also just take that function that you want to create there and create it here and then pass it down as a context and on submit. You can call it something like that.
So we create a function.
Like a handle submit here. And then you do whatever you want to do, then you pass it down here. So it will be called, whichever condition you want, it will be inside of there.
So we can.
But definitely, you can definitely optimize this thing.
Yeah.
Also later on.
Try. So once handle. What did you call the other one? A to handle submit. I don't believe. We need to handle submit. The other function. Then we put this hapa ndani, si ndio?
No. When they copy the function, pale kwa place ya kusubmit. Whatever is inside this function now.
The calculate age. This function only has.
Like now, calculate age will not even be exposed here. We just have handle submit. And then everything happening inside the context. Like you see this function, just copy it, this E and whatever. This is what we are now creating inside the context. Okay. That is now handle submit. I guess you have to create it underneath calculate age. So, or does it have it within its scope? I guess it does. There's no error here, so it does. So you can pass that down now. And then do whatever you want to do now here. Like situating all the logic in one place is usually a good thing for maintainability.
Then we need to do this. The if block.
You check whether they're numbers, whether calculated days. Like let's do a conditional inside and I'll submit. If then is none, then you pass in calculated days. So when you want to calculate if we have valid things, right?
Values. Yeah.
So you add the rest also.
So we need.
Or what is the thing that is none? What is the thing that is none?
None is
that becomes none.
The calculation. So the values for days, the values for calculated days, calculated month, and calculated year.
Yeah, I guess I should be checking those now.
So we need So this needs to be is none.
Is none days. The ones that had calculated, yeah.
If it returns true, false. If it's false, we don't want to calculate age.
Yeah, yeah. Will that solve it?
Calculated days is iko kwa calculate age.
Yes, that's another problem.
Like ndo nasema what is being displayed as none pale when you're doing the calculation.
It's
That's what
calculated.
you're supposed to be checking.
Calculated days, calculated months, and calculated years. But those ones are defined than your calculate age.
You're not setting state, like how are we accessing it from the UI? Maybe you can go to the years, months, and days. What is being displayed there? Because that is what is saying none, right?
Yep.
Let's go to that component. Was it age or
age? I believe it's age.
So it's the calculated years that is becoming none, right?
Yes, it's all of them.
Calculated years, calculated months, and calculated days. But see, we have access to them as variables. So why can't we just check them? Is it possible? Whether they are none, and then calculate the age conditionally.
Yes, it is. Yes, because but calculated days, see the functionality to give you the value after you've calculated the years, the months, and the days. Your logic iko ndani ya calculate age. Like you get that functionality is within calculate age. Calculate age.
Oh, it's within the function that you want to call.
Yeah, that's the thing that is changing the values.
I see it now.
Yes, because sasa hapo ukifanya
we
hivi,
can have another piece of state,
yeah.
maybe. But how can we do it then?
This project looked very
easy.
Or
we can just remember my function is none. That will solve it also. We're just trying also to complicate it a bit. Because it was checking for a none, like what we had before. Before we tried to do is zero. That would have worked, right? Because we can't access it before it's calculated. That actually would have been the correct approach, because we want to access it after it's been calculated and render conditionally, depending on whether it's a number or not. So you can just do it that way, I guess. You can remove this if here, and then we'll definitely factor it and see the additional different ways of doing it later on also. Yeah, so are you passing it down there and I'll submit to the context?
I am.
So let's just go on. Can we undo and get the is none? That function is number that we had, or we can just write it again. If we undo it, will it come back?
Sini kwa age.
Ilikonga is none, is number before we changed it.
Yes, I believe I can. We can do back is huku chini basically.
Oh, let's just do it again then. Is number. We called it is number. And then it was checking.
The number variable
was
returning is none, then checking in the num, and are we negating it? I think we were negating.
And now this one should be, if you negate it, it checks whether it's a number now. Yeah, it's supposed to negate. Change the conditional from checking for 0 to checking for whether it's a number or not. Now it will be is number, then calculated years inside.
So we need to replace it na get then upper.
Yes. No, you just check there.
Is number. That's it. And we are checking for.
No, remove that. Yeah, we don't need that. Yeah, that should work maybe.
Months. Wait, how many of us are left in the call? How many people decided to go? Mebaki watu wangapi? Calculated days. We have not talked to the guys in the call that entire time. We went into a rabbit hole. How many are still following? Acha nitaangalia basi tukimaliza. So sasa hii inafaa kuwork. Have we solved the problem? This one I will definitely have to look at it again.
It might surprise us, but you can check.
Normally when JavaScript surprises you, it's not in the right way. That is the right value we want. Give it 34. So far so good. Let's give it 15. Give it 5. Let's refresh. Let's give it all wrong values. 2056. Joseph anunuliwe soda.
Well.
No, but we struggle, Mazem.
Hey, we just like you see why I was saying like handling dates and these videos of validation ni kazi ngumu sana ya JavaScript. Yeah, now it looks like we have valid values. We have valid error handling also. But let's go through this again. Okay, this is number. We'll explain this is number.
So there is none checks whether a number is a number or not. Whether a number is none, it's not a number. Like whether that number is NA and not a number. So if it's true, it will mean that it is not a number. So that means if it's a valid number, it returns false. For example, just console log is none, then 5. Console log is none, 5. And then also console log is none, and then you give it none. And a capital N. Yeah, like that. So run that. Just go and refresh. You see, the number is giving you false, but then not a number is giving you true. So our function is checking whether it is not a number, whether it's a number, and that's why we're negating it. Now you get, right?
Yep, now it makes sense.
Yeah. So also, like we can also like click the button using a use effect, just to round everything off now. You see, it's giving us zeros in the very first render because it hasn't calculated. We can let's just click it. We can click that button. Where is it?
It's in I think we put it manually separately. The arrow.
Yeah. Maybe let's like, where is that? It doesn't have an on click though. Is then
It doesn't because it's iko ndani ya form.
Oh, iko ndani ya form.
Ni wrap kila kitu kwa form.
Okay, let's see. So we have to submit the form. Or how can we initiate it?
Yes, we have to submit the form for you to calculate, or you press enter. Because it doesn't calculate.
Or recall just the calculator. We also expose calculate the function itself and call it. Will that calculate?
On a use effect, sindio?
Yeah, on a use effect.
We do have
that only runs once. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not sure that it will work. Maybe it will.
Good, because we have access to the calculate age.
This is the beauty of context now. Like it's easy to access whatever you need from anywhere.
This is what I
mean. That's what I meant. Maybe we want it to run once, and then we'll let the rest to be handled by the form. But we might get an issue. You might get an issue. The issue will be like when you are changing now, when you are typing the inputs, it will call re-renders. But just try it out. We see, like, remove the dependency first.
But you can see it's already working.
But it has a bug though. Just refresh it. Now let's try to type.
Looks like it's fine.
I can't see anything changing. Just submit. It's calculating properly.
Yep, it is.
What about error states? I thought that. Okay. I guess I thought wrong. But now we're not getting the zeros in the very start, right?
Yeah. The zeros have disappeared. It's still calculating.
Okay. So that's now we are now making use of the component life cycle there. On mount, just run the function.
So it's mounting only once, and then when we trigger the form by the on submit, then in a re-render after every submit.
Yeah. Yes. That's it.
Is it really? I mean, it's just doing it once. The use effects it's only running once.
The renders are making. I guess John is asking for now getting errors and all the other stuff.
Oh.
Like when you submit it, it runs again through the handle submit now. I guess it will also. Can you console log here? Just IREN. We just check. I guess this one will also run, but it doesn't. It's like the same thing. Just console log. Inside the effect, IREN. We see like what happens on the console.
What are we console logging?
Just some message here before the function runs, or inside the function. Just I put it here. Put it here. You see how many times it runs. Just refresh. Has been executed. Now start changing the inputs.
It's not running.
Then it's running. So I want to see when it runs next.
After submitting.
It hasn't run again.
Not run. It has not.
Okay, it only runs once.
Yeah. See, that's because we don't have a dependency technically. It's not using calculate age.
Okay.
See, every time the inputs change.
This effect is not running at that point because we are just simply re-rendering the pieces that we need to. Use effect doesn't need to run again. It doesn't have a dependency. Like there's nothing to tell it to re-render, like to rerun use effect again. Sindio?
Because it's empty, the dependency array. Yeah, because the dependency array is empty.
It's empty. It's not. Only it's doing what it was doing all along, which is change the values of days, months, and years, but it doesn't need to run use effect. I think we can end up already 7:30. Yeah, but at least we have done most of it. Tomorrow we'll finish off with the borders and the labels and read also. So, but it has given us a lot of grief. So John and Catherine and Joseph, thank you for helping out. Yeah, I think we'll resume tomorrow. Let's finish up what is left tomorrow. So you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll catch up tomorrow.
I have a question.
Hi.
Will we have a session now where we go over it, at least for the rest of us?
Yeah, we'll go through it once we are done with complete functionality. We'll go through the code again.
Could you also please send today's recording because
I need to watch it.
Yeah.
Again. You see to look at spectators.
Okay. So I'll send the recording in the groups.
Thank you.
All right.
We can also discuss the code tomorrow, Kiasi, again.
Yeah, because today was a lot of debugging. A lot of trial and error. Yeah, okay. Let's finish tomorrow then and finish up on what is left.
Could you send the recording and put the code so that at least someone can just start from the beginning?
Okay, I'll push the code as well.
Yeah.
Right. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.